This is the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us by the telephone, our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping our show on December 31st, 2015. New Year's Eve, and we say happy 2016. 2016 is going to be an outstanding year for us. We just know it. This is our first show of the new year. If you ever miss a radio show, don't forget, they are archived on Harold's two websites, HESradio.com, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. We have a podcast through iTunes. Type in The World Financial Report on Radio. You'll find us there on iTunes. We're portable. We go anywhere you do on your portable device, and our radio show runs Sunday afternoon at 3 on 630 CHED. Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022, our featured diamond of the week, and it is a big one. It's a big chunky 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy vivid orange yellow, internally flawless. Now go to rarecoloreddiamonds.com, and if you take a look at the featured diamond of the week, you will see this beautiful orange, yellow, internally flawless. It is absolutely gorgeous. As we start today's show, we have a quote from Michael Burry. And I think it's a very important quote because he really sums up where we are today financially. He says, well, we're basically right back at it, trying to stimulate growth through easy money. It hasn't worked, but it's the only tool the Fed's got. Meanwhile, the Fed's policies widen the wealth gap, which feeds political extremism, forcing gridlock in Washington. It seems the world is heading towards negative real interest rates on a global scale. This is toxic. Interest rates are used to price risk, and so, in the current environment, the risk pricing mechanism is broken. This is not healthy for an economy. We are building up terrific stresses in the system, and any fault lines there are certainly will harm the outlook. That according to Michael Burry. And one of the stories, Harold, this really takes the cake as we end 2015 and go into 2016. When I heard this story, I think it tells you a lot about the times that we live in. It's from Zero Hedge. Christmas is a time for giving. And that is what Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne is asking of her citizenry. With almost $300 billion in debt and almost $1 in $10 of revenue going to pay interest, and already facing the highest tax rates in North America, the Toronto Star reports that Ontario officials are asking that patriots, remember, they're patriots, voluntarily donate their tax refund or write a check to defray the province's massive debt load. And if you can believe it or not, some people have done it. In fact, I think they brought in around $132,000. Wow. It's not going to pay off $300 billion, but $132,000 has been brought in. But can you imagine asking the citizenry who are already paying a high level of tax to be patriots and pay even more voluntarily? Harold, it's saying so much about the crazy times that we live in economically and geopolitically.
You better believe it, Randy. That is a crazy story. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Again, it's been a tough year. There's no doubt that the markets have not been amazing this year. In actual fact, some could call it almost a lost year financially. The stock market, the Dow Jones in the United States, has not done anything. It ended the year in January in 2015. It was at 7,490, and that's where it is right now. So if you were in the stock market for the last year trading U.S. stocks, the chances are you made nothing or you lost a bunch of money. In actual fact, the only people that made money in the stock market this year are the insiders on Wall Street. If you were in oil this year, you lost money. The oil market dropped 30% this year. The only people that made money in the oil market were clients that shorted the market because, again, it was a substantial drop. But if you're long the oil market, you lost money this year. If you traded gold on the upside this year, you lost money because gold is down now to around $1,050. If you traded the Canadian dollar, you lost money this year because the Canadian dollar dropped substantially with the price of oil. If you bought the U.S. dollar, you made money this year because the U.S. dollar made one of the largest moves of all the currency markets this year on the upside. So, again, those have been our recommendations basically for the last year. Have your investments in U.S.-based dollar investments and try to get out of Canadian dollar-based investments and definitely stay out of the stock market. The stock market has been horrible. And the projections are for 2016 that it's not going to get any better. So the fact is that if you have a retirement savings plan, if you're trading mutual funds or trading stocks individually, unless you got very lucky or you're a master trader, you lost money. I would say that more than likely 80% of the investors that traded the stock markets this year lost money. That is not a good record. On top of that, the stock market is supposed to be primarily for retirement savings plans, where you're supposed to be able to put your money into the market, defer your taxes, put it into an investment that hopefully is going to grow over a 10, 20, 30-year period, so one day you could tap into that retirement, hence the word retirement, savings plan, and hopefully one day retire. I can pretty well assure you that if you put your money into the Dow or into retirement savings plan that trades strictly off the stock markets, you have not made money for 10 years. And the chances are very, very good that you're not going to make money this year. So we anticipate that this trend is going to continue. We would not be trading anything paper this year. We would not be trading the stock markets in any way. I mean, if the last 10 years don't show us anything, and don't forget the Dow went in 2008 when it went from 14,000 down to 6,500, it came all the way up to 18,000. Unless you were one of the insiders that were in on the rare stocks that actually moved higher, the fact is that you lost money. Most people lost money for the last 10 years having their money sitting in a retirement savings plan. So how in the world is that a good investment? We don't trade gold. You know, gold fell primarily because of the strength of the U.S. dollar. There's a direct tie-in to gold and the U.S. dollar. The fact is that the higher the U.S. dollar goes up, the more gold is going to go down, and that's exactly what is happening at this particular point. So we anticipate that the price of gold will continue to fall. It's going to break 1,050 probably in the first couple of weeks of the new year, and we're going to go down to around 1,000 as the U.S. dollar breaks par again and starts to work its way higher up to 102, 105, 108, and 110 level. That could bring gold easily down to 1,000, possibly as low as 9,950. We'll keep you updated as to what we feel is going to happen in gold. Now, the thing that we also have to realize about gold and why we say that we're not going to trade gold is because gold could trade on a dime. There are situations out there geopolitically that could turn gold around substantially and make gold run at a time when most of the banks are short the gold market. And this would be a situation that, again, we spoke about last week with all of the threats from ISIS and other terrorist networks around the world, with what happened in the United States and California and happened in Paris last month. The fact is that there easily could be a terrorist attack in the United States. There's warnings in New York. You know that there's 6,000 police officers in Times Square this evening alone. So the fact is that if there was a threat to Wall Street or anything financial, you could see a total turnaround in all of these markets. You could see the Dow drop like it did during 9/11, and you could see gold skyrocket in price because it's in a position to do that. So you never ever want to be out of the gold market, but we will have opportunities, in my opinion, to buy gold at a cheaper price in 2016. The U.S. dollar is going to continue to rally, but the Canadian dollar, unfortunately, is going to continue to fall. The Canadian dollar is going to fall based on the price of oil falling. There's a huge glut of oil in the market. We're in a deflationary time at this time, and then you've got all of these countries starting to ship oil going into 2016. You've got Venezuela, who is reeling with massive, massive inflation. Their dollar is worth basically nothing. We're going to see oil probably drop into the high 20s, low 30s. We're almost there right now. And that, unfortunately, is going to drop the Canadian dollar down to around the 60-cent level. Right now it's at around 72 cents. So if the markets continue to do what they're doing at this particular point for the reasons that I just gave you, anticipate that the Canadian will fall, the stock markets will continue to be lackluster and fall, and the gold market will fall further unless there is a situation with ISIS or geopolitically that's going to affect the financial markets. Now, you do realize that with what happened in Paris, the financial markets in the United States were not interrupted in any way, shape, or form. The only way that the stock markets or the financial markets in the U.S. will really show any type of sign is if it's an attack of some way on U.S.-based financial institutions. So, again, we pray that that does not happen. The markets are going to do their thing, but there are reasons why you need to own certain assets. And we're never out of the gold market because, again, with what's happening in Venezuela, with what's happening in South America, in Europe, and all over the world, is easily going to happen in North America also. We're going to see, within the foreseeable near future, negative interest rates. It's an unbelievable thing to even imagine, but that is definitely going to happen. There is no doubt about that. And we are going to be in a cashless society much faster than anybody ever thought. It's going very smoothly at this point. We're going to do a very in-depth seminar in the first quarter of the new year, which will be totally free to all of our listeners and clients, but it's going to enlighten you as to what's going to be coming up within the very near future and what we need to do about it. The other thing is that I've been urging my Canadian clients to get out of Canadian-based investments and invest some money with us in some of our private deals here in the United States. Our clients are doing phenomenal. Our clients are doing tremendous. We're out of a negative situation and into a very positive situation. And even though the Canadian dollar's trading 28 cents below the U.S. dollar at this point, it's still going to go lower. There's still a lot of money to be made in these investments. So we urge you, going into the new year, to contact me, and I will go over your portfolio with you. I'll explain to you what I feel are good investments that you're holding and what you may want to take a second look at and what you may want to change around. So, again, this is a very, very important year. This is not going to be a great year in Canada, primarily because of what's happening in oil. So we need to get into a positive situation and set up for the next 4 to 5 years, and I can help you with that. We've been very successful helping our Canadian clients get out of very negative situations and into extremely positive situations with cash flow and everything. So, again, if you're worried about what's happening and what's going to happen in this new year, and I can assure you that 2016 is not going to be a year of growth. It's not going to be a year of growth in oil, in currencies, in anything like that. Stocks are not going to do well. So we need to be in touch with each other, and the sooner the better. We'll be back in the office for January the 4th. We'll be accepting calls, and I will sit down with each and every single person that calls, no matter what your net worth is, and I will try to help you get into a positive situation that is going to relieve a lot of stress and get you back into making money again. So, Randy, that's the way I see things right now. I just don't see anything changing, at least going in to the first quarter to the first half of the new year.
It was a very difficult year. There's no denying it, and we will have more information on that in next week's newsletter. If you were in diamonds, you actually did fairly well, and we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. Our featured diamond of the week from rarecoloreddiamonds.com. A 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy, vivid, orange, yellow, internally flawless. This is a big, chunky, beautiful diamond. See it, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. Take Harold up on his offer. Learn about investing in hard assets, having that insurance policy in your portfolio. You want the insurance before the fire, not after. Don't wait. Speak with Harold, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, or call 1-800-432-1022. 1-800-432-1022. If you'd like to receive our free weekly newsletter, you can speak with Harold. We'll be happy to send it out to you via email free of charge every week. Get your name on the list. It's the companion to our radio show. You can go through it in 5-10 minutes, be completely up to date on the week, or you can spend hours if you want. All the material is there for you. One of the stories we have this week, Greg Hunter, formerly of CNN, interviewed Bill Holter, and he had some 2016 predictions. And he said 2016 economic collapse caused by fraud and debt. Now, Bill Holter is working with Jim Sinclair now on Jim Sinclair's website. And Jim Sinclair has written a very good article. It's called You Can Get Prepared, Be Prepared. And we have that free story in our newsletter. If you would like to read it, we'll be happy to send out our newsletter to you. But an outstanding article from Jim Sinclair about being prepared in the current environment that we're in. Bill Holter was asked about gold by Greg Hunter, and he said, on gold, you just have to ask yourself the question, if someone counterfeited 1 billion shares of IBM stock and sold that into the market, what would happen to the price? It would crash. That's what they've done with gold. It's the same thing. It's fraud. They have counterfeited real gold, hard gold, with paper gold. Now, he goes on to say about the bond market. The bond market is full of debt that will never be paid back. It's one of the biggest frauds of all, and Holter says, go back to 1995, and our debt in the United States began to move up like a hockey stick. Somewhere in the mid to late 1990s was the point of no return. We didn't really have any hope of paying it back. In 2008, it was ridiculous, and at this point, it is beyond ridiculous. They can't pay back the $19 trillion, much less, and this is the true number, $200 trillion, which is the real number when you factor in Social Security, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Medicare, loan guarantees, etc. That's how much the United States is in debt, $200 trillion. In closing, Holter said, there's going to be a complete financial collapse. You're going to see some deflation, but it's not going to be deflation against dollars. It's going to be deflation against gold, meaning the value of everything will devalue against gold. And he is a strong believer in having an insurance policy in your portfolio of hard assets, gold, silver, and obviously, Harold, we advocate having diamonds. We believe in this environment, diamonds are going to do very, very well. And we have about 5 minutes left in our segment here.
Well, not only will diamonds continue to do well, but diamonds have done tremendously well, because all of my Canadian clients that bought diamonds bought them when the Canadian dollar and the American dollar were basically even. And now the Canadian dollar or the American dollar is worth almost 30% more. So just on the currency alone, we made 30%, let alone what the diamonds have gone up. So the fact is, the closer we get to a cashless society, the closer we get to all these geopolitical situations happening, you'll understand more how important it is to own your own assets, to have assets that are outside of the system, because the system is broken, and there's, again, the government has powers. They could just take whatever they want. When you hear the seminar that we're doing on the cashless society, it's going to scare the life out of you, because it has done that to me. The controls that the governments and everyone and the banks are going to have over us, you don't want them to have. So believe me, you don't want all of your assets transparent that everybody can see them. It's never been more important to start to set ourselves up for the next 10 years than it is at this point. That's why I made that offer, that we need to talk now to be able to get things set up, because this cashless society and these other situations, negative interest rates and all that, are right around the corner. It's going to happen much faster than you think, and let's face it, as fast as these years are passing by, we don't have any time to spare. These are frightening times that could bankrupt you if you make one wrong move.
Speak with Harold personally and privately at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. 1-800-432-1022. 1022. Our featured diamond of the week. And speak with Harold about this diamond. It would be a great diamond to invest in, maybe for the first time, or add to your portfolio. It's a 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy, vivid, orange, yellow, internally flawless. See the diamond at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Featured diamond of the week. It is absolutely stunning. One of the top stories of 2015, no doubt, will be the price of oil coming down the way it has. And everyone is blaming Saudi Arabia. And it is quite puzzling, to say the least, that Saudi Arabia has brought oil down the way they have, because they're killing their own economy. Oil prices have plunged about 60% since the summer of 2014. And it's not only hurting energy companies' balance sheets, it's also slowly killing off oil-rich countries' economies. The latest being that of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is arguably to blame for hurting its own economy because it's a swing producer, meaning it produces so much oil that it can shift prices depending on how much of the product it releases to the market. The country reported that it had a budget deficit. The amount in which expenditures exceed revenue for 2015 hit $98 billion. In fact, it even goes on to say in our newsletter, some of the stories we have this week, that OPEC is facing a mortal threat from different factors like electric cars. The oil cartel is living in a time warp, seemingly unaware that global energy policies and politics have changed forever, and this is something that they need to take into account. In fact, one of the stories that we have in our free weekly newsletter, and I really encourage you to take a look at it, is that the Saudis, in an unprecedented move, are actually subsidizing certain items in Saudi Arabia due to all the different effects of a lower oil price. They have actually announced increases to the prices of fuel, electricity, and water as part of a plan to restructure subsidies within 5 years. The government intends to cut spending next year and gradually privatize. And they're going to privatize some state-owned entities and introduce value-added taxation as well on a levy on tobacco. So you can see that they're feeling the pain as well as everyone else in the world. It's very bizarre when you think about it, that here's a country that has control over the market. They could do something about what's happening in the oil market, but for some reason, they're not. If you would like to speak to Harold about geopolitical concerns, obviously here it is, New Year's Eve. We're taping the show on New Year's Eve. Everyone is concerned about potential terrorist attacks in the United States. And yet at the same time, as we get into 2016, people concerned about what's going to happen to the oil market and the stock markets as well. Speak with Harold, learn more. Connect with him at rarecoloreddiamonds.com or 1-800-432-1022. Going to come back and talk about diamonds as the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall, continues right after this. Welcome back to the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us via the telephone, our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping our show on December 31st, 2015, New Year's Eve. We say Happy New Year's and hope you have an outstanding 2016. Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. Our featured diamond of the week is a 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy, vivid, orange, yellow, internally flawless. You can see it at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. It is absolutely gorgeous. And what an outstanding year it was for colored diamonds. Where some in the diamond market were not doing well, that was not the case for colored diamonds. Colored diamonds did exceptional. And Harold, to give you an example, and of course in 2015 at the end of the year we have the new James Bond movie, Spectre, that came out. Sean Connery, he actually made some very good money selling some colored diamonds that he invested in. It was actually a sale at Sotheby's in 2015 at the end of the year, He sold a diamond pendant for $4 million, about twice its upper estimate, setting what Sotheby's described as a record price for a fancy orange-pink diamond. The 15.20 carat piece was sold at the auctioneer's Magnificent Jewels and Noble Jewels tender in Geneva at a $266,000 per carat price. It was slated to sell for $1.2 million to $2.2 million. It went for $4 million. And the former James Bond movie star also sold a single 5.18 carat pear-shaped diamond in a ring that went for right around $250,000. The estimate on it was $145,000, and that was from Sotheby's as well in Geneva at the end of the year. And Harold, it was really an outstanding 2015 for colored diamonds. Those that invested in colored diamonds obviously made money on the currency, but they made money on the diamonds as well.
You bet. And some of the biggest diamonds in the world sold in 2015. Let's not forget the Blue Moon diamond that just recently sold for almost $50 million. So, the fact is that people invest in diamonds for a specific reason. When a diamond sells for $50 million or $20 million or $4 million, that's substantial money. And people don't invest that type of money under the premise that they're going to lose money. Same with buying substantial art pieces. So, again, every investment has its time, but rare colored diamonds have done tremendously well, and the worse the economy gets, the better these investments will become. There's always going to be wealthy people. The amount of poor people in the world is certainly increasing, but so is the amount of wealthy people in the world. And the fact is that this is where the biggest money goes to. Now, also, when we monitor the auctions, which we do obviously very substantially, Randy does a fabulous job of monitoring the auctions all year long. The fact is that even medium-priced and lower-priced diamonds have done tremendously well. We're not only talking about the $20 and $30 and $50 million diamonds. We're talking about diamonds in the $100,000 and $200,000 range that also sold at auction and sold for 2 or 3 times what the estimated values were. So we anticipate that this is going to continue, and to continue for a long, long time, because the world is in love with colored diamonds. They're spectacular. The diamond that we have as a featured diamond this week is a one-of-a-kind. You'll never see another diamond like that. That is a vivid yellow-orange, vivid being the highest saturation of color. Anytime that you get orange in a diamond, you're talking one of the rarest colors that you can get, and then on top of that, it's internally flawless and almost 2 carats. It's a diamond that over the next 10, 15, 20 years could sell for 10 times what you paid for that diamond. That's how valuable these assets are. And again, they could be sold in other currencies. When I first started bringing up diamonds to my clients 10, 15 years ago, and the Canadian dollar and American dollar were basically even, who would have thought that now, 10 years later, that the currency has changed by 30%? One of the major reasons that we recommended buying diamonds was because of currency devaluation. And that's exactly what happened around the world, and that's why I'm so excited about this investment in rare colored diamonds. We also know that there will be an entire color class of diamonds that will be eliminated in 4 years, and that's pink diamonds, because the Argyle mine that produces 95% of the pink diamonds in the world is going to close soon, before 2020. And if you're one of the lucky people in the world to own a pink diamond, you could literally turn out to be the greatest investment that you've ever made. We have clients that bought diamonds 10 or 15 years ago when they were very, very low priced, when nobody even knew what Argyle Vivid pink diamonds were. We know of diamonds that have increased over 1,000% in the last 10 years. I've spoken many times about the ring that my wife's girlfriend inherited from her grandmother. 50 years ago, that diamond ring, it was a 5-carat pink, she bought for $50,000. Today, $5 million. Where do you ever see those type of returns in anything but in a classic car, a very rare colored diamond, or a very rare art piece? You never see that in stocks. You never see that anymore in real estate. All the markets basically are risky everywhere you go. You put your money into a retirement savings plan. You haven't made a dime in it in a decade. We really need to take a look at how things are going to be moving forward, and we have to get ourselves situated in the right marketplaces. Because if we don't do it now, you're going to find that time is going to pass by so fast that you're going to be at a loss. And we need to restructure everything at the beginning of this year. So please contact me because I can help you. We have private investment programs that are based in U.S. dollars that our clients are doing phenomenal. They're getting income from, and they're making fortunes in. And we want you to be part of it. We care about the listeners to our show. Randy and I have been doing this show. Is it going on, 15, 16 years now, Randy?
Yes, it is.
We care about you. We do this show every single week. We have never missed a week. These last 2 weeks are the slowest weeks of the year. We easily could have taken this time off, but we don't because you need this vital information if you're going to take next year very seriously, and that's what we need to do. Randy and I are always here for you. There's no charge to the radio show. There's no charge to our seminars. There's no charge for our newsletter, and there's no charge for advice. We want our clients to do well, and we know what we're facing is a tremendous uphill battle, but we're willing to fight it with you. So, again, we appreciate your patronage. We have clients that have listened to our show since we came on the air 16 years ago, and they listen every single week. And we're proud of that because obviously the service that we're providing is valuable to our listeners. But now we really need to buckle down. And we do have some investments for you going into the new year that you'll do tremendously well with. So please give us a call, and we'll do everything we can to get you in the right position.
This week's featured diamond from rarecoloreddiamonds.com is a 1.19 carat cushion cut fancy vivid orange yellow internally flawless. If you've never seen a vivid orange yellow internally flawless, go to rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. You will see it there. It is absolutely gorgeous. Speak personally and privately with Harold about the possibility of profiting and protecting the money you have in 2016. Basically, really almost nothing made money in 2015. If you were in diamonds, colored diamonds, you did well. Speak with Harold, 1-800-432-1022 or rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Two of the big diamonds that sold, and Harold touched on it earlier. One was the Blue Moon diamond, and a Hong Kong tycoon spent millions on diamonds for his daughter at Geneva auctions. The billionaire paid $77 million in Geneva for two large and rare-colored diamonds for his 7-year-old daughter Josephine and renamed them after her. And Joseph Lau was the top bidder for the 12.03 carat Blue Moon, and that sold for $48.5 million. And then what we had was pink diamonds, and that sold for, and this is another very big number, $28.7 million for a 16.08 carat vivid pink diamond, sold at auction at the end of 2015, both going to a billionaire, and his 7-year-old daughter, a very lucky girl, getting both of those diamonds given to her, $77 million in total. One of the other items that took place in 2015 was the Argyle Pink Diamond Tender. And the world's most expensive diamonds, they were all sold again. A collection of 65 rare pink and red diamonds from the Argyle mine in the northwest of Australia were sold in the global tender. The Argyle Pink Diamonds, known as the Connoisseur's Collection, weighing a total of 44.14 carats. Now remember, that's for the entire world, and that would fill maybe half a champagne flute. And including 4 that were known as fancy red diamonds, went to bidders from 11 countries. Rio Tinto, the owner of Argyle, does not reveal what the tender winners paid for their diamonds. However, pink diamonds, as we know and have educated our radio listeners over the last 10 years, can fetch 50 times more than the common white diamond. They often get $1 million a carat. Based on that 2015 Argyle collection, that would have brought in more than $40 million. The most expensive pink diamond sold was the Graph Pink, a 24.78 carat fancy intense pink diamond sold at Sotheby's in 2010 for and this is in U.S. dollars now, $46 million. And Josephine Johnson, the Argyle Pink Diamonds manager, says she was delighted with this year's results. She said that the 2015 Argyle Pink Diamond tender achieved the highest average price per carat since the tender began in 1984. The 5 heroes of the collection were sold to notable investors all around the world. But once again, the Argyle Pink Diamond tender in 2015 did very, very well. And the thing to remember is almost the entire world supply of rare pink and red diamonds comes from Rio Tinto's Argyle Diamond Mine in the East Kimberley region of Western Australia. We know, as we found out in 2015, there's approximately 4 to 5 years left in the mine. They may have, after that, a couple of years' supply that they've tucked away in the vaults. But at that point, all the pink diamonds and red diamonds coming from Argyle, they're gone. And Harold, as we know, and we follow this very, very closely, there are no new mines that have been discovered and no new mines that are producing any pinks of note. So if you're investing in a pink diamond today, obviously somewhere down the line, we don't know where the prices could go because the sky's the limit based on 90 to 95% of the world's pinks no longer being on the market due to the mine being shut down. It's a very exciting prospect.
Well, you're certainly right, Randy. Again, the Argyle mine's going to close in less than 4 years. It's a phenomenon, one of the most amazing mines in the world that could never be duplicated. So again, we just anticipate that anybody owning an Argyle Pink Diamond is going to do tremendously well. You know, it's like an economics 101. The demand for these diamonds are extremely high because these Argyle tenders, they sell out every year. And even though the quality of diamonds have gone down in quality, the prices have skyrocketed. In fact, 40% of the diamonds that come out of the Argyle mine during the tender are I1 clarity, means that you could sometimes see the visible flaws. But that does not stop investors from buying these amazing diamonds. And we have a diamond, for example, that we bought at the tender back in 2003. It was, at that point, you could get a larger vivid. So this was a 2-carat vivid purplish pink Argyle that we bought at the tender for $350,000, and that diamond today is worth close to $4 million. That's how much these diamonds can go up in value. We have Argyle pinks that start in the $40,000 to $50,000 range and go up from there depending on size and color and saturation and things like that. But the fact is that once this mine closes and give it 2 years for all the diamonds to be gone, we anticipate that the price of these diamonds are going to continue to skyrocket. And you know, the beautiful thing is that these are not necessarily short-term investments, but buying Argyle pinks at this particular point, realizing there's only 4 or 5 years left, means that in 10 years, that diamond that you buy today could actually increase by 5 to 10 times what you're paying for it today. It happens very often in the diamond business. So, again, this is a situation that once it's done, we will never get a chance to do this again because there is no mine in existence that does what the Argyle mine does, which is actually produces 95% of all the pink diamonds in the world. It's truly a phenomenon and something that we're very, very excited about.
Our featured diamond of the week from rarecoloreddiamonds.com is a 1.19 carat cushion cut fancy vivid orange yellow internally flawless. Speak with Harold about investing in this diamond Monday morning, rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Harold is back to work along with the crew. You can speak with them, give them a call, and they'll be happy to speak with you either through rarecoloreddiamonds.com or 1-800-432-1022. If you'd like to speak with Harold personally and privately, he'll be happy to do that. He takes the time and will sit down with you over the phone and review where your finances are at, where he sees the markets financially and geopolitically. The conversation is confidential. The call is free. rarecoloreddiamonds.com or 1-800-432-1022 and ask about our featured diamond. It will go quickly on Monday because this is, as Harold was saying, the rarest of the rare, a 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy vivid, orange, yellow, internally flawless. See it, rarecoloreddiamonds.com, featured diamond of the week. Last week we touched on it. Bloomberg came out with a list of the top 10 biggest jewelry sales of 2015, and 6 of the 10 were colored diamonds. In fact, number 10 was a pink diamond, a rectangular cut colored diamond ring, 5 carats, sold for close to $11 million. Number 9 was a colored diamond ring, 9 carats, sold for close to $12.7 million. We had number 7 on the list, a purple-pink diamond ring, 8 carats, sold for close to $14 million. Number 6 was a historic pink diamond at 8.72 carats, sold for close to $16 million. And then, as we touched on, the 2 big diamonds that sold at the end of the year at Christie's and Sotheby's, the Geneva sales. Number 3 on the list, the Sweet Josephine, 16 carats, sold for $28.5 million. And the Blue Moon of Josephine, 13 carats, sold for $48.5 million. In total, $77 million between the two of them. And Harold, think about it. When it comes to the biggest jewelry sales of 2015, 6 of the 10 were colored diamonds. And for those that are investing in colored diamonds, that is so exciting. We can send the list out to you. In fact, we have auction results from the end of 2015. We'll be happy to send them out to you. The auction results were spectacular, whether it be the Far East or New York City. It was an outstanding year for colored diamonds. And going through Bloomberg and other business websites, Harold, for stocks and bonds and real estate, it was a very, very difficult year, but colored diamonds did very well.
You bet they did. I mean, when you look at it, when we first started talking about blue diamonds, when I wrote the report on colored diamonds back about 10 years ago, you could have bought a very high-quality, vivid blue diamond in the range of about $200,000 a carat. Now look what they're selling for. That Blue Moon sold for over $3.5 million a carat. And that's all transpired over the last 10, 12 years. So you can imagine moving forward with all the troubles in the financial world that people want to have their money in a very safe asset. You know, it's one thing to make a lot of money. It's another thing to preserve your capital and keep your money. There's very few investments today that are not risky. You put your money in stocks, we know you're going to lose it. 80% of the people that traded stocks this year lost their money. You put your money into leveraged commodities or bonds or anything that's risky, the chances are that you're going to lose. The fact is that a rare colored diamond holds its value all of the time. So capital preservation is paramount. But then on top of that, you've got an asset that makes you money over the long term. And on top of that, the currency can make you a fortune. You put all those together, and the fact is that rare colored diamonds are one of the best investments you could ever make.
And in the environment that we're in, as we touched on the last show, here in Canada, our Fed head, or actually not Fed, but Bank of Canada head, Pelosi, came out and talked about negative interest rates. And if they are raising interest rates in the United States as they promised to, they've already raised once in December. They promise 4 more times in 2016. Here in Canada, there's talk of a rate cut. And if we in Canada get into possibly negative interest rates, as some speculate after Pelosi came out and gave a speech and talked about negative interest rates, the Canadian dollar has much farther to fall. We don't like to say that, but it definitely is the truth. And if the oil market continues to go down, let's face it as well, the Canadian dollar is a petrodollar. It will continue to go down. There's no getting around it. So as Harold has recommended, now is the time to shift some of your money into U.S. assets, U.S. dollar-denominated assets. And one of the best is, we believe, colored diamonds. RareColoredDiamonds.com featured diamond of the week is a 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy, vivid, orange, yellow, internally flawless. It is absolutely gorgeous. See it at RareColoredDiamonds.com. It's the most secure and profitable investment, millions of years in the making. Diamonds are nature's art, private, portable, stable wealth. And Harold, that's the thing about diamonds. They did exceptionally well in 2015, along with art and collectible cars and watches and handbags. Everything that was a hard asset that was sold at auction did very, very well because people realize that it's capital preservation. It's not so much how much money you're making, but it's how much you're actually going to keep with negative interest rates and obviously taxes and everything else that's going on around the world. People are looking at hard assets like diamonds, gold, and silver, and paintings. It was a real shift in 2015, and there were some major prices. In fact, I believe it was the top 10. The number was $1 billion, close to $1 billion, for the top 10 art items sold at auction in 2015. It goes to show where the smart money is shifting, and that is, Harold, into hard assets.
You better believe it. And alternative assets. That's the whole thing that we've been talking about, is alternative assets outside of the banking system, outside of paper assets that we all know are so easily manipulated. It's really sickening what has happened over the last 5 or 6 years. Since, the 2008 debacle where the markets around the world just plummeted with the mortgage crisis and Lehman and everything like that, the markets have never really recovered. Just look at the price of the banks. The banks have not done well, and obviously the lower the interest rates, the banks do worse and worse and worse. So the banks are not our friend in any way, shape, or form. We have to be very wary of what's going to happen this new year with the banks in Canada, the United States, and all over the world, and we need to talk about that because the fact is that they can do things to you that you have no idea that they have the right to do. So we need to be up on that. We need to know exactly what we can do to protect ourselves. We may not be the Warren Buffetts of the world, the multi-billionaires type of thing, but we work very hard for our money, and our money is extremely important, as important to us as their money is to them. So the fact is that we may not do things on the same scale as they do, the billionaires, but we make the right moves. Most of the moves that we made this year were the right moves for our clients. We were long the Canadian, we were long the U.S. dollar, short the Canadian, short oil, short gold, short the stock market. Basically, everything that we did was the right move this year, and I think that we have a very, very strong hold on what's going to happen for the next couple of years. We anticipate doing much better than anybody else out there. So please, doesn't matter what your financial net worth is. If we can help you, we would love to do that. As fellow Canadians to fellow Canadians, we want to make sure we get through these next few years, which are going to be extremely difficult, and come out on top. And again, Randy and I are here to help 100%.
And we look forward to, in 2016, Harold's, and this is going to be an important seminar on cashless society. In fact, the New York Times had an article about Sweden and a cash-free future. We have that in our free weekly newsletter. We also have a story, and it was from here in Canada. Cashless future underway as Canadian consumers have more credit, debt, and app ops than ever before. We have those two articles in our free weekly newsletter. Get ready for, in 2016, the seminar Harold is putting together on the cashless society. We'll let you know more about that in the days and weeks and months ahead. It's a seminar you do not want to miss. Our featured diamond of the week is a 1.19 carat cushion cut, fancy, vivid, orange, yellow, internally flawless. See it at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. And Harold, with about 15 seconds left, we wish all our great listeners a happy New Year, happy 2016.
You bet we do. Wish everybody a very, very happy New Year, safe, profitable, healthy, most important. And again, we truly appreciate your loyalty listening to us every single week for the last 15, 16 years. So all the best in the new year. I wish you a wonderful weekend and a very profitable day.
Speak with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com, 1-800-432-1022. That's it. Another edition of the World Financial Report on Radio with Harold Siegel and me, Randy Marshall. We will talk to you next week.